Hi, and welcome to Reality TV. I'm here with your co-host, Tauren, and myself, John. And today we're going to be talking about The Amazing Race Season 1. This was filmed also quite a long time ago. So, it's so funny to see how they used to dress back then. But I love The Amazing Race, and I'm so excited that we are finally starting to review The Amazing Race. So I know I've already seen this season.
I have not.
And Tauren has not, so it was really cool to kind of get Taryn's take on it from her first ever time watching it. So.
I was a little hesitant because of how old it is. I was like, is it really going to be that interesting? It's been interesting.
Yeah, it's sometimes even interesting than some of the newer seasons.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of elements that they don't have anymore.
Yeah.
Which is like... Yeah, but anyway, we'll get into it.
Yeah, so starting off, we'll talk about kind of the 11 pairs that were competing this season and kind of like our first initial thoughts, over the first couple of episodes and just kind of go from there.
Yep.
So we'll first talk about Frank and Margarita. I said, like, low-key, I thought that they were going to be really good at it, and I kind of liked their attitude.
I didn't. Margarita was fine, but, like, Frank, to me, I was like... I don't know. Something about him just, like, rubbed me the wrong way. And just... Also, like, the episodes after, I was like, Frank just has a bad attitude to me. I don't know what it was, but I wasn't hopeful about them.
Okay.
Yeah, but next team, Paul and Amy, they were arguing from, like, the beginning. They're an engaged couple, I think. And they literally were arguing from the start.
Yeah, I also put that they were going to be arguing a lot during this adventure.
And I thought that because of that, they would be the first out, the first eliminated, because if they're arguing all the time, like, how are they going to do well?
I could see that.
Yeah, so that's who I thought was going to get eliminated first.
Yeah, I think I put them also originally when I was first watching. I think I thought they were also going to be eliminated first.
Yeah.
But, next up is Kim and Leslie. I thought that they were just kind of there for fun, just kind of going with the flow. They didn't really feel like they were, like, super into the race.
Yeah.
They just kind of were like, oh, we're just having some fun.
They didn't really make an impression on me. I was just kind of like, okay, they're here. Like John said, like, they're just there. Didn't seem like they, like, wanted to, like, I don't know.
Compete,
yeah, exactly. They were just like, we're here, whatever.
Yeah.
But the next team was Lenny and Karen. They are also married. No, not married. Engaged. Dating? They're dating. Lenny and Karen are dating. In the beginning, they were forgettable to me. Definitely weren't by, like, the second or third episode. But in the beginning, I was like, oh, okay.
100% agree. Whenever I was doing these initial things, I literally had to sit there and be like, who is Lenny and Karen?
Exactly.
Who? So I had to look up on Google, their photo just to remind me. And I was like, okay, forgettable.
Yeah.
And that 1,000% changes, I think, by episode 3.
Yes. 100%.
That is, they are anything but forgettable.
Yeah.
Next up is Dave and Margareta. I said that they were just kind of this, like, nice old, like, grandparents. They seem really sweet.
Yeah. I was hopeful for them. I was, like, hoping for the best, but I was like, I don't think they'll make it very far.
Yeah.
They're old. I mean, they're really old. You know? Like, I don't know, but I liked them. I thought they were sweet. I wanted them to go far.
Yeah,
so,
same.
Yeah. Next team that we have is Matt and Anna. To be honest, I don't remember them right now in this moment, but when I was writing my first impressions, I thought they were going to do well. And I thought that they had, like, a good attitude. But I honestly don't remember them now.
Yeah, for me, I could start to see some cracks between them. So I knew that if they were going to make it far, they would have been an interesting team to watch.
Now I remember them. Yes.
But, yeah, we'll talk about them in just a little bit. Moving on is probably the team that I almost hate the most. Team Guido. Joe and Bill. They are just annoying. They come off as know-it-alls. They're always trying to play the victim. They are a really bad representation of what, like, gay people can be. So I was very disappointed in the first season of The Amazing Race to see that representation with those two. And I was like, oh, like, you couldn't have gotten anybody else that's, like, LGBTQ+, that's better.
Yeah.
and nicer.
In the first episode, like, my first impression of them was, like, I thought they were gonna be, like, fun and, like, have good attitudes and stuff. And I was like, oh, they could win because they, you know, they're just there to have a good time and be together. But, of course, that changed by, like, the second or third episode. But my first impression was, like, positive of them. But, yeah, anyway, next team that we want to talk about is Patricia and Brenda. I have nothing to say about them.
Yeah, I, like, said that, like, you know, they seem sweet.
Yeah.
Because they were, like, two moms.
Right.
And they were like, we're getting away from our husbands and our kids.
We want to show our kids that we can do fun stuff.
Yeah. So, like, you know, I was like, oh, that's really sweet and everything. And I just, like, had this feeling deep down that they probably wouldn't last very much.
Yeah.
Very far. So, I was like, you know, I wish that they, you know, could make it far. But I just kind of had a feeling that they wouldn't.
Yeah.
Next up was my original pick, who I thought was going to win, and that is Robert and Brennan. I said that they felt like they're going to make it very far, and if not, like, at least the final three, if not winning. But then I also put, like, they don't seem super book smart. So again,
but they're lawyers.
Yeah, but like they again, kind of like that frat boat.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they are fraternity brothers.
You know?
Yeah, that's what. Or no, they're not the fraternity brothers. They're the lawyers and best friends. Yeah.
But I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, I liked them. So.
Yeah, they were cool. I thought they had said they like never been out of the United States before. So and they were both like. I don't remember which one said, but he was like, yeah, growing up, I kind of had everything handed to me, like, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, they're going to be in for, like, a rude awakening, like, being on The Amazing
culture
Race.
Shock.
Major culture shock, because they had never been out of the United States. Like, but they were cool. They're just there to, you know, again, have a good time and travel the world with each other because they're best friends. Next team is
Nancy and
Emily, the mother and daughter duo. I thought they were sweet. They were arguing already, though, like, because, you know, daughters get annoyed with their moms. Yep. So I get it. But I thought they were sweet. I was really, like, I had high hopes for them.
Yeah, I put in that I just know that this is going to be a struggle between the two of them.
Yeah.
Which it is a little bit. And originally, I wasn't too kind of, like, you know, gung-ho about them.
Yeah.
But especially after the India leg, which we'll talk about, I was so gung-ho for Nancy and Emily, and I really enjoy them now.
For sure.
And then lastly, the 11th pair is Drew and Kevin. For me, I just said that I kind of thought that they were a little annoying, and I was just kind of, like, over it from the beginning. I mean, they seem like really, like, jokesters and pranksters, and, like, you know, nothing against that, and, like, you know, again, I also put that I thought that they were going to go pretty far, but originally I was just kind of like, I'm done.
Yeah. So this team is the frat bro team. They're really loud. They're very strong personalities, like, very loud, very, like, when they're there, like, you know they're there. And I was like, okay, they'll probably have fun, but they're kind of, like, obnoxious. So, yeah, that was my first impression of them.
Well, that's our first impressions. We'll kind of get into, the actual legs now. Basically, the first thing that I noticed, which is a little different from this season, is that we really get to know exactly how much money, everyone gets right in the beginning. So everyone was given X amount of money, and, you know, they have that for that leg of the race. Whatever money they don't use, they can keep and use for future legs. So the first thing that I just put on there is, as they were all heading to the airport, is that Robert and Brennan were trying to get their, like, $2 back.
There should be $2 and change.
And in my mind, I'm like, it's $2. Like, and they even said too, they're like, we're sorry, but we can't tip you. And I was like, tip him the $2.
Right, exactly.
Like, it's literally
just
$2.
Let him have the $2.
You know?
Yeah.
So I was just like, come on, guys. Like, you really need those $2. Is that really going to make or break the race for you?
Yeah, seriously. The grandparents were already kind of struggling in this first leg of the race, which I was really sad about, but, like, it's what I was expecting. But also something, again, like I was saying before, Frank was just being so rude.
Man, look at those goofed out hats they're wearing.
He was being rude to people and also being rude to Margarita.
Yeah.
And I'm like, even though you guys are separated, like, that's your partner, you know, like, you need to be, like,
child's mom.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't want your child to see you yelling at her and, like, talking to her the way that you're talking to her. And that made me think that, like, maybe they weren't going to go very far because, like, they just weren't working very well together in the first leg anyway. But yeah.
And they flew to Africa.
Yeah. Which is cool.
And they, the first little place that they had to go to was to, what is it, like Victoria's Falls?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. I've heard great things about it. I've always wanted to go. They come back a couple of times in other seasons. But then the one thing that I was just so, like, surprised with is that they said that you could either hire a driver to drive you, or you can drive yourself. However, the driver doesn't, like, they're not just going to drive there. You have to tell them where to go.
Yeah, you have to drive
and
them.
I probably would not have hired a driver because then you're just wasting money because you still have to figure out where you're going.
Right.
And the driver is just driving.
Yeah,
and
so,
I'm
like, what's the point?
I can just do that myself and save the money.
Exactly. Like, one of you might as well just drive and do that. But this leg of the race had a fast forward, which means you get to skip every single, like, part of the leg of the race and just go straight to the pit stop. And the team that got the first fast forward was Robin Brennan. And you're only allowed to get one fast forward the whole season.
Everyone is allowed one fast forward. There's one fast forward on each leg of the race. It's up to you when you decide to use it as a team. I kind of thought I was a little dumb for them to be going for it right away because they weren't at the back of the pack.
No.
There's 11 teams. You have a very small chance of getting eliminated.
Yeah.
And especially with those two, Robert and Brennan, like, I was like, you should have saved that for a rainy day.
Yep.
But,
they wanted to use it right away, and now they can't use it again.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes in the rest of the season. But, again, Drew and Kevin, loud, yelling at each other already.
Drew, come on! Get in the car!
And I was just kind of over it at this point. I was like, you know what? I made up my mind. I don't like them. I don't like Drew and Kevin. They're annoying. I'm done with them. I don't want to see them get very far in this race. And also, Paul and Amy were falling apart completely.
Yep.
Because...
Yeah, Paul was so scared to jump, so they had to, like, do some, like, cliff jumping, and Paul was just, like, freaking out.
Yep.
And honestly, if I was Amy, I would have went up and just pushed him.
Honestly.
Like, this is $1 million, okay? You
jump.
are going to jump. You've just seen, like, 5 other teams do it because they were, like, kind of towards the back of the pack. And it's like, obviously it's safe, so I'm going to, like, push you off this cliff.
Yeah. Kim was also having, like, a full-blown panic attack about it. Like, crying and crying.
Yep.
Like, if you're afraid of heights, don't go on the show.
Right.
Like, if you're really gonna, like, not do the heights challenge and, like, refuse to do it, don't go on the show.
Yeah.
Because there will be something that involves heights, no matter what. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Last thing was, I was annoyed with Amy because she was being, like, rude to the locals.
Yeah, she kind of was.
Yeah, and I was like, girl, you can't do that on The Amazing Race. Like, when you were in another country...
Yeah, whenever you're in another country, you respect their culture and everything.
Yeah, and you need to be nice, because that's why people hate Americans.
Yeah.
Because we go other places and we're super disrespectful, and she was, like, Exhibit A. Yeah, she was just like that, so, yeah.
Yeah, so came down to the final two that were first eliminated, Matt and Anna. Again, I wasn't super surprised by that, and they just ended up being eliminated. So
that was the first episode. So episode 2, alliances are starting to form, which I didn't like. I never got why people made alliances.
Yeah, alliances in this show, they don't really help you a lot. Like,
no,
I would not have stopped and waited for anyone.
Yeah,
I would have been like, see you at the next leg.
And you can't really trust anybody, Like,
no.
Even if someone says, like, oh yeah, we'll wait for you, they never do.
No.
They never do. So, like...
Especially if there's, like, one taxi, 2 people. What do you know?
Yeah, you're not going to be like, oh yeah, you can take it, go ahead.
Yeah.
No. That's not what happens.
I would not have waited, but the first 3 teams decided to wait. Frank, Margarita, Brennan, and...
Joe and Bill, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So...
Yep. And so this is when they are in Songway. And their first task is to find the Songway Museum. And they're staying in, like, Songway Village, right? And the museum, they didn't know where it was, but the museum was literally 100 yards away from them. Like, they could have walked.
Literally right there.
And they were all getting into taxis.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, let's call a taxi. Let's go find the museum.
So, John, you know where the museum is? No? You still don't know?
I don't understand how it didn't click in their mind. Okay, Songway Museum. Maybe it's in Songway Village. I was watching, like, are these people serious?
Yeah.
Are they for real? Like, they're not going to look around the village first to find the Songway Museum? Like,
right.
I was so confused about that. I think only one or two teams, like, figured it out.
Yeah, that they, like, immediately, they're like, oh, it's literally right here.
Yeah, like, let's go look. Like, yeah. But all the rest of them were like, let's get in a taxi and drive there.
Yeah.
And then they ended up having to drive all the way back.
Yep. Because they drove away. Yeah. And then they had to come back.
Ding dong.
That was fun.
Yeah.
But after that, they ended up going to, doing the detour, except for Pat and Brenda. Mm-hmm. They ended up doing the Fast Pass, which was whitewater river rafting, which looked so fun. Mm-hmm. I was like, wow, I would love to do that. Yeah. And so once they completed it, they got the Fast Pass, which they went straight to Paris, which was the next pit stop.
Yep. And they won that leg, right?
Yep. Yeah, because they didn't have to do anything else in Africa.
Yeah.
So the rest of the teams, they had to do the photographing.
Which is cool. That was so cool.
I know. Mm-hmm. I would have been so happy to do that. Mm-hmm. And, that just... Again, you're out in the wilderness
taking photos. They had to just take photos of the wildlife, which is so cool. I would love to do that, and I was also laughing at their cameras because of how old it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the challenge, and it was like really cool. I was like, yep, I would do this 100%.
Yeah. Then after that, they went to the airport.
Yep.
They had to, again, just like Pat and Brenda, they had to fly out to France.
Yep.
This was kind of the start of the drama for this season. I know flights are a little stressful, but low-key, I would have really loved this part of the race where you have to like decide your own flight and figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
Because I love doing things like that. So I would have been so excited for that, but a lot of them were 100% not.
No.
And then like Amy is just more drama.
Oh my gosh, losing her mind.
Yeah,
for
like
real.
at the airport, like there was another team that was talking to the like counter, and Amy was standing nearby, and the other team was like, she's not with us, and Amy was just like, she's not with us. She's not with us.
I'm not with her.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
you're
right.
not with you.
No.
Because you're not going to be getting on the same flight as them because you're not just going to like piggyback off of someone else.
They're not trying to find a flight for you.
You go and do your own work. Yeah. Okay, Amy?
And she got pissed and then she like started like throwing a hissy fit and like started crying.
And then the employee literally had to come over and was like, calm down.
Yeah, like you need to calm down.
Relax. You don't have to be upset.
And I was like,
we need to relax.
If the employee is telling you that is so embarrassing.
Seriously.
I would have been like, you know what? Like, the race is over. We're going home. Yep. I was put in my place and never again can I be seen in public.
Yeah, she was not happy. And it's like, okay, instead of like crying about it, go find a flight. Yeah. Go do the work that they were doing and just like go find the best flight for you. But no, instead she wanted to cry about it.
Yeah.
And Paul, her partner, was just so annoyed with her. He was like so done with her, and he was like, "Why are you crying? Like, if you're just gonna cry, we're not gonna do this phrase. Like, whatever, Which, like, understandable. Yeah, I get it. So yeah, they all go to France.
Yep.
Joe and Bill had an advantage because apparently they lived in Paris.
Yeah,
for
like
2 years.
2 years, a couple of years ago or so.
And they both spoke fluent French, so
I mean they had this huge advantage, so of course they just decided not to wait for the rest of the alliance and then just go off and do their own thing, which like I get it because I would have done that too.
Again, don't make alliances in this show. That's just
but yeah, so then they had to go to the Eiffel Tower and they had to walk up it to go kind of like see a clue. That was the roadblock for this episode. And I've been to the Eiffel Tower and let me tell you, going up and down the Eiffel Tower by stairs is not easy.
How far up is this thing?
I thankfully I was able to take an elevator up, but we walked down and it took us probably like 20 minutes or so. So those were not easy. And I felt so bad whenever the grandparents team they had to that they both walked up it and then they didn't know what to do, so they walked back down and I was just like, ugh. And then this is where we start with Karen and Lenny.
Oh my gosh, yes. This is where we start to
Lenny
remember.
just not understanding what the clue.
No.
And I'm like, you have to understand the clue before you even start.
There was no clues up there. You had to look.
Yeah, and he didn't take the clue with him either. Nope. That's the problem. He left it with Karen at the bottom of the tower. Yeah. He went all the way up, couldn't find what he was looking for, so he came all the way back down, and Karen was like, Did you find the clue? Nope.
And then he went back up, and he found the wrong thing,
Yep.
came back down, they went to the wrong place, had to come back and do it all over again, and I was just like, ugh.
Yep,
I mean,
and then he was saying, well, then you should go up there, Karen. And Karen's like, I can't.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to.
Yeah.
Like, duh.
Otherwise, Karen should have.
She should have.
But that was her first mistake.
Yeah.
And then I also, too, like, having Kim and Leslie, wherever they were just, like, missing the clue at the Eiffel Tower, that was just so funny.
Yeah, it was. It was funny. They were so lost. It was kind of funny to see everyone, like, scrambling and just being, like, not understanding, like, what they had to find. Yeah. And then after that, they had to take a taxi, right, to the pit stop or whatever. And this is when Kim and Leslie stole Paul and Amy's taxi. Mm-hmm. Paul and Amy called a taxi. It came to pick them up, and Kim and Leslie literally took it.
Yep.
Stole it.
They were just like, oh, no, like, take us instead.
Yep.
Will you please take my group and ask them to please leave?
And, the driver saw two young, beautiful women and probably decided to take them instead.
So he was like, okay.
And it was funny, too, because I remember them saying while they're in the taxi, like, oh, like, we don't really have to, like, rush that much. Well, guess you did, because you got eliminated.
They got eliminated. So, yeah, that was karma.
So, yep, 100%. That was karma for them. So, that was the end of leg 2. Mm-hmm. Spent the night in Paris.
Yep.
Woke up the next morning to start the leg 3. Mm-hmm. First note that I have is Team Guido is so annoying.
Yes.
And I literally have nothing else to say for a while except for that Team Guido is even more annoying. Mm-hmm. And I just could not stand them in the beginning of this episode.
Yeah. Although I thought it was funny, like, the contrast that they showed where they were sitting in a cafe, like, enjoying their, like, breakfast or whatever, and all the other teams were like sleeping out in the rain.
Oh, it's so nice to relax again. Oh, thank God.
Is this illegal?
But because, like, they know the area,
Again, they knew the area,
they
so
had
they
an
knew,
advantage.
like, okay, let's go to this 24-hour cafe, and,
Yep, and this is the part of the race where all the teams kind of evened up again.
Yep.
Because the next part of the race, they couldn't do it until, like, it opened, and it opened at, like, 10 a.m. or something like that, so it kind of put everybody on an even playing field.
Which was doing kind of the underground in Paris. So they were kind of in the underground sewer area, walking through it.
Yeah.
It would be cool, but I wish that it was like the catacombs. Because if it was the Paris catacombs, that would have been so awesome.
Yeah.
But no, it was just kind of like
it was literally the sewer. It looked nasty. I was like, oh gosh, I would not be able to do that.
Yeah.
And again, this had a fast forward. Mm-hmm. Drew and Kevin got the fast forward this time, and they ended up winning the leg. Yeah. As the person who gets fast forward usually does.
Yep.
And then I don't remember what it was though. What the fast forward was.
Yeah, I don't either.
To be honest with you.
Something
it was probably boring.
Yeah,
that's
was
why
kind
we
of
don't
boring.
remember. But yeah, I also wrote a note about how Joe and Bill are just shady.
Yep.
Shady, not cool. I was so upset because I liked them. Like my first impression of them was like, oh, I like this team. They're gonna be great. No, they're not. They're shady.
Learned.
Yeah,
I learned.
To,
take a couple of episodes.
I did, but
you'll learn.
They're shady, and I didn't like them at all.
And then, sadly, this episode, Pat and Brenda, they got eliminated.
Yep.
Again...
They probably didn't care, though. They
no.
were like, all right.
I don't think they cared that much.
Yeah.
It was nice to, like, have them there, but again, they were just kind of like, okay.
They were just there. Yeah. So. Episode 4, alliances start turning on each other. Teams start turning on each other. This is where it gets really, really messy. Paul and Amy get into this huge argument. I don't know what they were arguing about, but I wrote a note that they should probably break up. It's like, maybe they should break up if they're going to be arguing this much. Yep. Paul is like constantly threatening to not do the race anymore. He's like, this is Amy's thing. This is Amy's thing. And she's going to keep crying. I'm done. I'm not going to do this. I didn't even want to do this in the first place. Yep. Like,
I get so pissed that she gets so upset every single day.
And it's like, that's probably not making Amy feel any better.
Not at all.
Maybe you should try to comfort her.
Yeah.
Instead of, like, yelling at her.
Yeah, I know. And then, of course, after that whole argument, they didn't get a taxi easily.
Yeah!
Which, like, I mean, I was kind of happy about just because Amy is just so annoying that I was like, good. You don't get an easy taxi like everyone else.
Yep. And this one, the detour was they either had to do a massage or... I don't remember the other part. because I was just watching the massage.
Yeah.
I was like, that looks painful.
Like ripping my neck and pulling my hair out and stepping on me.
Yeah, it looks a little painful,
Yeah.
but like before knowing what the massage was, I probably would have chosen massage.
For sure.
Because I was just like, oh, this is like a nice massage.
Yeah. Amy was getting the massage and she was like, this feels great.
Yeah.
And Paul was like, oh, ow,
Yeah.
ow. And Amy was like, what are you talking about?
Right.
This
So
is
Taryn
great.
would have enjoyed it, and
Oh,
I would
yeah,
have hated
for sure.
it.
I would have loved it. Especially being in a race. Like, you want to get a massage. You want to feel nice and, you know, relaxed.
And I think everyone else, they all went to the other one, which
I think
was
so.
the coffee shop.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, so they had to go get coffee.
Yeah.
And then after that, they ended up going to kind of like the Colosseum-ish. It wasn't obviously the Rome Colosseum, but it was ish.
Yeah.
And I just remember like during that roadblock, Emily was just getting so lost.
Yes.
She was
oh my gosh.
walking
Yeah,
around and she was like, I don't know where to go. And like the torches that they were carrying, flames were just leaping off of it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Stop.
Yes.
Like I was like, I would be holding it so far away from me.
Yeah, but they were all like this. Like, okay, yep.
Yep.
And also, I noticed in this season that during the roadblocks, when only one person is allowed to do the challenge, in current seasons, their partner's not allowed to help them.
Yep.
At all. But in this first season, like, they were kind of helping out their partner, like, oh, go this way, go that way, like, directing them, and that can't happen.
Yeah, that
these
can't
days.
happen anymore. Yeah.
That's not allowed. So I thought that was interesting. I wonder when that changes. Yeah.
And then also, too, this is the start of my nightmare of Karen's voice. Just constantly, Lenny!
Yeah.
Lenny! Lenny!
That's literally all she says.
Lenny! 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 Lenny!
Yes.
And, I mean, this is the start of it, and you're going to hear it for another, like, 3 episodes. And I just, oh my god.
She always gets so mad at Lenny for no reason.
Yeah, for literally doing.
She
like,
always
for
takes out her
doing
anger on
the
him.
job.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You're not fast enough, Lenny, Lenny." So
Yeah.
that was just the start of it. And then also too, the one thing that I also noted on this is that 100% back then, Phil is my type of guy. Like he just was so attractive.
He was so young.
And I was like, damn.
Yeah. I was like, oh,
hello, Daddy Phil.
That's how I feel.
What's up?
That's how I feel about young Jeff in
Yeah.
Survivor.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was so young. It was crazy. I'm glad he's still the host of
Yeah.
the show. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, this episode, are one of my favorites. The grandparents got eliminated.
Yeah, Dave and Margareta.
Yep. They couldn't do it anymore. I knew they wouldn't last long, but you know, it still sucks
was
to
sad.
see them go.
Yeah.
They were having fun.
Yep.
You know, they were everybody's grandparents. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So next leg, wake up, and
Leg 5.
again they have the option of either hiring a driver, or not.
Yep.
Again, I would choose not to,
Not
just
to.
because
Why would
it's
waste
a waste
money?
of money. So
Yep.
you know.
Yep. And this detour, they could either do this like walkie-talkie challenge, or they could do a puzzle. I don't think anybody chose the puzzle.
No one did the puzzle.
No.
I would have done the puzzle just because I love puzzles.
I hate puzzles.
But
yeah. But everyone did the walkie-talkie challenge. So what it is like you get a walkie-talkie at the start of wherever they were.
It was actually where they filmed part of Star Wars.
Star Wars, that's right. They were in Tatooine,
yep,
right?
in Tatooine.
Yep, and the challenge was to find the other walkie-talkie by talking into it. I thought that was funny because I was like, okay, first of all, walkie-talkie. Like, no one uses walkie-talkies anymore.
Right, like that's just not a thing.
Yeah, it's not a thing at all. But it was a cool challenge, though, like, to see that, like, technology coming into play, you know, in like, the old seasons. And also this was the episode where Amy was getting like super sick in the back of the car.
She was sick.
I was like, tag yourself, that's me. I get super like motion sickness.
Yeah.
And that would 100% be me if I was on The Amazing Race, having to like navigate, looking at a map in the back seat. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I could not do
Yeah,
it.
so she was getting sick. After everyone completed the walkie-talkie point, basically what they had to do is they had to go drive to kind of the middle of the desert.
God, yeah.
Everyone
was getting lost.
Everyone got lost.
Everyone.
Except for Drew and Kevin.
Yes.
That means Drew is a dumbass. That's an arrow. That means go that way.
I was
don't
so
know how.
surprised.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but they literally like they just knew where to go, and they like got on the camel. You then had to like take the camel across the desert to the oasis, and they were like,
we're done.
Done.
And they won.
And
They won that.
like
that
they
leg.
won by hours.
Hours.
Because like everyone else was
struggling.
lost.
I gotta pee. Come on, come on.
Again, it was just so funny to see everyone struggling. Now at this point, I would have paid money to have the candle or the camel handler.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know why like
Because
no one did that.
there was an option. They could either
Yeah.
do the camel handler to help them, make the camel go, or they could choose not to, and I would have paid for that.
For sure. I
because
thought everyone was going to do that.
animals, as we're gonna see in future episodes, they're hit or miss. There's not
They're
like
unpredictable, yeah.
they're so unpredictable. So I would have paid for a little bit of help with that.
Yeah, for sure. I thought that Rob and Brennan were going to be eliminated this leg because they were very, very far behind to begin with.
Yep.
Like, very far behind. Even they thought they were going to get eliminated.
Yeah.
But
I think they came in third, right?
yeah, they ended up making up a lot of time.
Yeah.
And they didn't get eliminated. And I was like, okay, well, good for them.
Yeah.
But Paul and Amy got eliminated. They were
Yep.
the last to show up. Amy was sick. She felt bad. She thought she was the reason why they got eliminated.
Yeah.
But obviously she wasn't.
No.
Like, you know.
Again,
can't help
it
if you're
just
sick.
yeah, she was sick, and I mean, I also noted too. It was kind of funny because this was the least amount of talking that we heard from Amy this whole time.
Yeah.
And that's also just because she was
'Cause
sick.
she was
So
throwing up,
like
yeah.
she couldn't be talking a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it was also really cool because we got to see them hanging out at the pit stop.
Yeah.
And we don't ever get to see that anymore. They're all kind of hanging out at the pit stop Oasis. And that kind of leads into the next episode where in the beginning, I like at the end of the last episode, I was like, that's so cool that they get to spend the night in the Oasis.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that's so cool. But then we heard in the beginning of episode in leg 6 that there's a desert storm and they had to, move
They had
away
to
from the
evacuate,
Oasis.
yeah.
From the Oasis. So I was kind of sad about that, but it would have been really cool for them.
It would have been cool, yeah. And so this is another leg of the race where they had to find their own flights to their next destination. Again, mess. Big old mess.
Oh my
Super
God.
chaotic. No one wanted to give, like, all the flights were full.
Yep.
Nobody could find anything.
Yep. Except for Team Guido.
Yep, except, of course.
They found
Ooh,
flights.
yeah.
And so then after they found flights, they were standing around listening to everyone else.
I'm gonna stand here and just watch what happens.
You got your flights.
What are you doing? Yeah, go to your
away.
flight.
Okay, you already booked them.
Yep.
Great. And all these other teams are like trying to find out like what are they gonna do. And finally, this like this airline attendant helps these what was it, 3 teams?
Yeah, it was Drew and Kevin and then 2 other teams. I think it was Nancy
and Emily, and I
Robin
think
Brennan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the 3 of them, they get on this flight.
Not only did we get this flight, but we got 2 other teams on this flight.
But it like leaves in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And again, this is all like pre like all these like huge security things.
Oh, yeah,
So, yes, 13, 15 minutes is kind of cutting it close, but they
but
can
not
still
really,
do it.
yeah.
So they start heading to the gate, and because Team Guido is just jealous that they, didn't get the best flights, which again, like that's their own fault for just going to one counter and being like, "Hey, we're done." They basically make this huge commotion right at security.
I was here before they were.
And like they're pushing people, and then they push Nancy, and like Nancy's the mom and she's kind of older too and everything, and it just was not okay. And I was like, you guys are not acting in like a well-mannered area.
Yeah. They were trying to distract like the flight attendants and like, try to get them to miss their flight. But everybody had a connecting flight except for Lenny and Karen. They were the only team that somehow found the only direct flight to Rome.
Which pissed me off.
Yeah, they were the only one, but they didn't do anything with it.
No.
They didn't help them get ahead at all.
It did not help them at all. But
Yeah.
I was just so pissed that like they were the only ones that just made, like, they were in Rome hours before everyone else.
Which would make you think that they would win the leg because they were so far ahead of everybody. They didn't win the leg.
No.
No, they didn't.
No.
It was Frank and Margarita.
Yep.
And even more ironic, like, Lenny and Karen ended up being the last team to arrive. And they would have gone home.
I was so pissed that it was a non-elimination leg, And then also, too, I was also pissed because, which again, they did bring this up in the next episode, but as we all know from future seasons, you need to read the clue, because whenever Frank and Margarita and Team Guido, whenever they got off the train and they took a cab to the city, when the clue clearly said, take a train to the city, and they didn't, and at first they weren't penalized, I was actually like really pissed.
Yeah.
But again, we find out in the next episode that they were penalized. So kind of moving on to the next leg, leg 7.
Yep. It didn't really affect their ranks though. Or not ranks, but where they landed. Like I said, Frank and Margarita won the leg. Even with the time penalty, they were still in first place.
Yeah.
But it just made the race closer. That's all it did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So at this point, they woke up and they had 2 options. They could either do the glider, where they had to go up in this glider and just glide down, but it was first come, first serve, or they had to go bikes, and go biking around the city to find the next location.
Yep.
I probably would have chose bikes only because I would have been scared to do the glider.
Yeah.
Because again, that thing had no engine.
No, oh my gosh.
All it had was just the like wings, and you were just kind of gliding down.
No thanks.
So I would have done ride.
Yeah, well, for sure, which is what most of the teams did. Only 2 teams ended up doing the glide, which was Robert and Brennan, and they were first there, and then Drew and Kevin, who waited. At that point, though, I was thinking, like, why are Drew and Kevin waiting? Like, obviously it's taking a long time. Like, they might as well just go to the other part and, like, do the other one. Yeah. Because it took a long time, and I guess they were just so dead set on, like, doing the gliding that I feel like if I was them, if I got there and I saw that there was already a team there, I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to go do the other one, you know? Like, it's just going to save time. Yeah. But it didn't really matter.
Yeah, because they all had to get on a flight anyways and go to India. Evened them all up. And this is also probably around the start of the leg that I would consider using a fast pass.
For sure.
So I would have done it like episode or leg 7, 8, 9, kind of around there is where I would use the fast pass.
Yeah. Frank and Margarita used it.
Yep, they used it, so they were able to go straight to India and get checked in. And I think they were probably there for at least like probably 8 or 9 hours before everyone else.
Yeah.
And then I just remember in India, like, they had to go down this busy street and go find this stall. Yeah. And Nancy just got so overwhelmed.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I felt so bad.
Overwhelmed with just kind of the amount of people that were there. And then whenever Nancy finished it, and Emily already had a taxi cab waiting. And they got in, and then now Emily started to get overwhelmed because everyone was just huddling around the taxi cab, like asking for money.
Yeah, taxi couldn't move.
And the taxi couldn't move, and the taxi cab didn't know where to go because they were going to the Taj Mahal, like just outside of it. And, it was just kind of a lot. And, I just felt so bad that they had to go through this because they had really grown on me.
Yeah, and I was really worried that they were going to get eliminated because, like John said, like, they really grew on me too, and I was like, oh, I don't want them to get eliminated. They're doing so well. Yeah. And this is kind of the first time that you see both of them like get super overwhelmed like that. Yeah. For the most part, they're both pretty good at like keeping themselves calm and like keeping their emotions in check. But this is the first time they both just like completely lost it. And I feel like all the taxi drivers, like, none of the taxi drivers were, like, good taxi drivers. No. They were all kind of, like, trying to swindle them out of their money.
Were. 100%.
And, like, it was, like, just really shady stuff. And even, like, as much as we don't like Lenny and Karen, like, their taxi driver straight up was like, oh, yeah, I know where to go. Yeah. Drove around for half an hour.
And then had to, like, stop and, like, give them to someone else. And they're like, now you owe me, like, $900. Yeah. And they're like, no.
You said you knew where the hotel was. We've been driving around for half an hour.
Yeah. You said you knew where to go, so we're not paying you, like, nowhere near that.
Exactly. Just trying to get more money out of them. So. Wasn't cool. Of course, they were both pissed off.
Yeah.
I would have been, too. Like, if you tell me you know where you're going, you're a taxi driver. Take me to where I need to be. Yeah. So that was... It was a whole mess. This whole leg was just like a big old mess.
Yeah, this India leg was just
tough. all the locals were like being rude and like it just wasn't.
Yeah,
was not a good time.
But thankfully,
but in the end,
Nancy and Emily made it.
Mm-hmm. They 100% thought they were last. Yeah, Nancy was saying she was crying all the way there because she was like, I thought we were last. I was crying all the way here, you know. But they weren't last. So
thankfully, Lenny and Karen don't have to hear anymore, Lenny!
Yep.
Lenny!
Yeah.
But I was just so shocked that at the end, Karen's like, we just shouldn't be together anymore because of this.
Not only did they get eliminated, but they straight up broke up on TV.
I don't think it's gonna work.
I guess she's right. I guess we're just total opposites.
Karen's like, yep, no, it didn't work out. And Lenny thinks it's because of the game, but like it's not. Like we just don't work. Like, I don't think this is
just
gonna
like
work out.
We're way too opposite of each other.
I would literally, my jaw dropped. I was like, this is not happening on TV right now. Of course, like you never want to see anybody like break up on TV. I'm sure like a lot of couples that have been on Amazing Race like break up after the race.
This is the first one, but it's not the last.
Exactly. But like no one ever does it right then and there, like at the end of the race, like, oh, we got eliminated, okay, it's over. Yeah. We're done.
Like you're already being eliminated.
Yes.
You really need to pile on even more.
I know, like poor Lenny. I feel bad for the guy. After all that he just endured with her and then now he's like being dumped on TV. People can watch that over and over for the rest of their lives.
Because we just did.
We just did, yeah. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, so that's legs 1 through 7 of the first season of The Amazing Race. Stay tuned. Up next is going to be the next part. So that's legs 8 through 13. Let us know what your thoughts are below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Bye.